Okay, here we are. It is episode number 6, the final episode in my 6-part mini-series, walking you through the exact process that you can follow to finally achieve and sustain your dream body and your healthy lifestyle as an over 30, someone that's been yo-yo dieting for their whole life and just wants to finally regain control and make it part of your lifestyle. Well, this is it, episode number 6, and I can't actually believe how quickly this process has gone. It was only yesterday that I was thinking of creating this 6-part mini-series, and then here we are at episode number 6. So I hope you found it useful, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the final part of nutrition within this 6-part mini-series, and actually how we can automate healthy eating into your life the simple way. Simple wins, complexity fails. This is where so many over 30s get it wrong. Nutrition is this minefield. You've grown up around fad diets, high protein, do this, do that. There's huge trends at the minute on social media with, air fryers and, high protein recipes. And it's just an absolute minefield. And it's kind of like, well, where do I start? Calorie deficit, tracking my calories, high protein recipes, doing this, doing that. And it's just so complex. It's so overwhelming. And what it does is it kind of scares you and tricks you into thinking that nutrition, it's like the hardest part. And, there's like so much information out there. I just don't know what I need to do to implement. Do I start eating more healthy, but then does that actually mean weight? I'm confusing myself, right? The way that I'm speaking. So from a nutrition standpoint, and what I want you to get from, this episode is actually how we can make things super simple. Okay, I want you to come away from this episode and go, do you know what? Like, these are some simple frameworks I can follow that really just dumb it down and make it super simple for me to start eating healthier, and actually therefore that aligns with you achieving, your health and fitness goal and getting to a dream, the dream body that you've always wanted. So there's a couple of things that we can think about, but one thing that I want to really reinforce in this video, is that complexity fails. Just because every man and his dog is sharing high protein recipes and meal prepping for the week, it doesn't mean that we need to do that. Okay, recipes are just like super confusing, right? It's really, you've got to get all the ingredients, then you've got to like know what day you're cooking it, and it's just like, that doesn't work for me. I'm a father of two young girls, 2 toddlers. I'm running my own business. I've got a lot going on. So for me, recipes and making sure I've got all the ingredients, nah, you don't need it. You need to simplify things. That's the key as an over 30. How can we make it so simple that it just feels so easy, so natural? That way it's not a stress. It's actually something that we can easily get up for, implement, and build it into our life. So a couple of things that I want you to think about. When any client joins the Lean and Fulfilled lifestyle, we get you to do a whole food reset. Okay, so in the initial 2 weeks of coaching, we get every client to just eat as much natural, whole food, single ingredient as possible. And there's a reason for this. And this is going to lead on to the first thing that I want to give you that's going to help you massively with making nutrition super simple. It's very easy, again, to go down the rabbit hole of like recipes and like overcomplicating things. The reality is, if we can focus on eating, less processed food, more natural food, single ingredient, nutrient dense foods, we're going to be fuller. We're going to be eating less calories. We're going to be, eating more beneficial things like protein, vitamins, minerals, all things that are going to help us. So I want you to really look at like your diet and make it as simple as we can by focusing on single ingredient, nutrient dense foods. And there's a way that we can do this to make it even easier for you. Okay, if you were to look at your day of eating, I want you to kind of break it down into meals. For most over 30s, your evening meal is typically going to be the meal that needs to be a bit more flexible. For me, that's when I eat with my daughters, my wife. So it might be like a home cooked family meal, bolognese or, a lasagna or whatever it may be, right? A chicken stir fry. But, an evening meal is kind of where I need to be a little bit more flexible. And maybe it is a recipe. Okay. So if we forget about that evening meal for now, I want us to look at the first kind of 2 meals of your day. So breakfast, lunch, and maybe you have a mid-afternoon snack. For most of us, these are the meals that are like we can really control. Okay, we have more control over our breakfast, our lunch, and then it's the evening meal where it's a bit tricky. So if we lean into that, what does that tell us? Well, actually, if we can keep it super simple, if we can actually just have 1 to 2 options for breakfast, for lunch, and for your afternoon snack, it's going to really simplify nutrition. It means that every single day, you know, I either have A or B for breakfast. And as long as we make sure it fits within a certain framework that I'm going to give you, then we're on to a winner. You see, you don't have to wake up every day and think, oh, what am I going to have for breakfast? It needs to be high protein, it needs to be this. Well, why don't we actually just work it out now and kind of identify 1, maximum 3 options. I just have 1 of 2 options for breakfast, lunch, and your afternoon snack. Then life is so simple. You know exactly what you're going to have every single day. It's routine, it's easy, it doesn't take much preparation. And then you know that you're on track. And then it's just going to be the evening meal that you can allow a little bit more flexibility, but we can still follow the same principles. And look, in this training, because of the constraints of time, I'm not going to go into calorie tracking and how we build that all in and like everything like that, but I'm going to give you that overviewing framework. So what I want you to do is just choose 1 to 2 options for breakfast, for lunch, and an afternoon snack if you have it, and that's really going to help you to simplify your nutrition. Now, what are them meals going to be? Well, first of all, we want to make sure that we're having at least a fistful of protein, okay? So 20 to 40 grams of protein is going to be a really good place to start to make sure we're getting enough protein in to help us with weight loss and beneficial for our overall health and fitness, okay? So a fistful is a really good example of what that might look like. 1 to 2 fistfuls if we're pushing towards that higher kind of higher number of that. But for most of you, just a fistful of protein. As long as we're getting that in our meal, we're on to a winner, okay? So what does that look like? Well, for breakfast, that could be eggs. That could be protein powder that we mix in with porridge. That could be bacon. That could be, chicken sausages. That could be beans. That could be high protein yogurt, or zero fat Greek yogurt. Anything like that is a really good thing that we can get going for breakfast. So that's the first thing. We want a fistful of protein, okay, with every single meal, or 20 to 40 grams. The second thing is we want half of our plate to be filled with fruit or vegetables, okay? So if we're having breakfast, that might be, berries with our porridge. If we're having, say, like a cooked breakfast where it's eggs, that might be like spinach or tomatoes or onions or mushrooms. So we want to really aim for as much as possible. And don't get me wrong, this is easier for like lunch compared to breakfast, but about half a plate full of vegetables and fruit. That's really going to do 1 of 2 things. It means we're going to eat more food, but not eat more calories. Okay, people think that losing weight is all about eating less. It is about eating less calories, but it's actually about eating more food. The more food volume we eat, the fuller up we're going to be, therefore the easier it is going to be for us to lose weight. So that's where we want to start. That is the absolute key, okay? We want to make sure that we're volumizing our meals, so we're eating as much food as we can, but actually we're smartly dropping the calories down, okay? We're filling ourselves up on the fruit and veg because it's full of fiber, vitamins and minerals. It's going to make your life easy, okay? So fistful of protein, half your plate kind of filled with fruits and vegetables, and then that final kind of quarter on the plate going to be carbohydrates. So whatever, a main source of carbohydrates, which is, our body's preferred source of energy. So that could be oats, that could be a slice of toast, that could be rice, pasta for dinner, something like that. Okay, so that's how we want to build the meal. I want you to think super simple, like breakfast as an example then. So, right, what is my source of protein for breakfast? Okay, a scoop of protein powder, done. What is my fruit or vegetables? Okay, well, I'm going to have some strawberries and blueberries. Okay, perfect. That's 2 ingredients. And the third ingredient is going to be my oats. Okay, and then obviously you just need water or milk. It's as simple as that. That's 3 ingredients, 4, whatever, however you want to see it. That is so simple. Whereas if we're thinking about a high protein oven baked banana muffin air fryer recipe, it's like, whoa, this is really confusing. So choose 1 to 2 options for your breakfast. For me, every single day, it's either a bacon and egg butty, normally in a bagel, with like a piece of fruit on the side, or it's protein porridge. Like that is it. It's A or B. And if you know it's either A or B, you can prepare it super simple the night before or on the morning. It takes you literally a matter of minutes. You can input it into MyFitnessPal ahead of time, so you can pre-log it. So you're not waking up thinking, oh, I need to track my breakfast. It's like, no, I have the same every day. Measure it all out, boom, all is done. Okay, so it's reducing decision fatigue to allow you to just show up, know what you're going to eat, and know that aligns with your goal. So that's it. Then we move on to lunch. We have 1 to 2 options. So that could be chicken, a microwave, half a packet of microwave rice, and then, loads of salad leaves, cucumber and tomato. How super simple is that? You can just throw it all together and you're having it every single day. And then your plan B, or your second option, is a jacket potato, tuna and vegetables, right? And if you're fancying that, then the night before you put some jacket potatoes on for an hour, they're done, and then you just whack it in a Tupperware box, throw your salad in, tin of tuna, easy. So it's making it super simple. So 1 to 2 options for breakfast, for lunch, your afternoon snack, and that's it. You just cycle between them as and when you need. And knowing what your meals are going to be when you do your food shop, then you go, well, I need to make sure I've got, eggs, bread, bacon for option 1, and then we just need to make sure we've got some Greek yogurt and protein powder. That's it. There's your breakfast done for the week. Now, obviously, this can vary slightly on weekends and if we've got meals out and things, but I don't want to go too much into that now. But that is how we can automate healthy eating into your life. Know your 2 options, 2 to 3 options for breakfast, for lunch, for your afternoon snack, and then your evening meal. It can be a little bit more flexible, but as long as we're still following the same principles of protein, half your plate, veg, and carbohydrates, we're in a really good place here. Okay, so that's how we can really look at simplifying things, making it easy. We don't need to be cooking recipes. Nutrition is not boring just because we're having single ingredient, nutrient dense foods. It's easier to track, you feel better for eating it, and you know that you're giving your body what it needs. You can have some chicken, half a packet of microwave rice, sticky rice, golden veg rice, Mexican spicy rice, and then add some salad. That's not boring. That's going to be so nutritious, so tasty. You can add a bit of salt on there. You can add some certain seasonings, maybe a little bit of sauce just to change it up, every day so you don't get bored. But by keeping things simple and, really simplifying the breakdown of every single meal, you know that you're giving your body what it needs without the stress and, the time needed to cook and prepare that food. And that is how you can automate healthy eating into your life. And, there's a couple of things that you can do to kind of go one better than that. It's something that we do inside the Lean and Fulfilled Lifestyle. So we have like meal plans for clients that kind of, some people like to know what their nutritional total should be. So calories, carbs, fats, protein, etc., and work towards that. But some clients like to just be told, look, can you give me then 1 to 3 options for every meal based on how many calories and protein and macros that I need? So we do all the work for you, and we make sure it's, we integrate foods that you like because we, work together with you. And then there you go. You've got your meal plan personalized to you, 1 to 3 options so it doesn't get boring. And if you stick to that, you get to where you want to be. So that's one option that we have, that kind of more specific meal plan, not for everybody. Some people like tracking and a bit more freedom, but again, it depends how you like to do things, and is it too stressful trying to work out what to eat all the time? The other thing that we do is we have nutrition pods. So with me, our in-house nutritionist Adam, we have the client to kind of their own pod, and we get them to send us pictures of everything they eat, everything that passes their lips every single day for a week, so that we can see their food. We feedback them every single day on maybe how we could tweak that, how we could improve it, and then cross-reference it to their MyFitnessPal to make sure that what you're tracking does add up with what you're saying, so that we can make sure that you are on track to losing weight and getting to where you want to be. So that are just a couple of extra things that we use. But that is the video. I tried to keep this so simple that you're probably listening like, really? All I need to do is have 1 to 2 options for these meals, focus on protein, half a plate vegetables, and the rest carbohydrates. And it's like, yeah, trust me. So just remember, simple wins, complexity fails. And I know that if you go away and implement this, you get your 1 to 2 options for every meal. You follow that kind of how we build a plate, that fistful of protein, 20 to 40 grams, half the plate fruit and veg, and then the rest carbohydrates, normally about a cupped hand size. Then you're going to be onto a winner. And yeah, look, that is episode number 6. We've literally covered 2 episodes on mindset, 2 episodes on habits, now 2 episodes on nutrition. So if you've missed any of the episodes, please go look back because they are incredibly valuable. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I will, of course, be bringing out more content on a weekly basis. So yeah, stick around, make sure you've subscribed. And for anyone that's really enjoyed this kind of 6-part mini series and you want to learn more and find out how, you can truly get to that place that you've always wanted and sustain it for life, which for most over 30s that have tried and failed for years is the goal. You want to free yourself of that emotional baggage. You want to lose the weight, yes, build the habits, of course, but you want it to stick and stand the test of time and essentially be built into your unique life. Then I do have a completely free weight loss sustainer course to get you started on your journey, more specifics around how we can get you from where you are now to start building that momentum and moving towards that life that you want to live. So literally in the description box, there'll be a link to it, my weight loss sustainer course. Click on that. You'll have to request access and then I'll accept, and then you're in and you've got a free course that you can work through to get you started. So hopefully that makes sense. Enjoy. Any questions, fire away. And I hope you enjoyed the 6-part mini series. Stick around for more.